and I started off. A friend of mine was a manicurist, and she knew I liked to do arts and crafts. And she asked, um, wouldn't I like to be a manicurist like she was? And at that time, you did not have to be a licensed manicurist in the state of North Carolina. However, since then, they have changed the laws, and you now have to be certified by the state of North Carolina with a manicurist from the cosmetology department. And that takes about 300 hours at the present. It is liable to change, as it was less time when I started. But I was a teaching assistant originally, and then my friend said, hey, you need to try this. I think you would like it. So I found a business across town that would train me, because at that time I didn't have to be licensed. I stayed at that salon a couple of years and was a quote-unquote employee. And then another salon across town heard of my abilities and dedication to the job, and that was at an actual hair salon. So when I moved from a nail salon to a hair salon, I then had to be licensed. So I went through the state of North Carolina and got my manicur's license, which that then allowed me to work at the hair salon. At the hair salon, you could either be a booth rental, which means I paid them to work there, or you could be a paid employee, and they supply everything. So at that time, I decided to go that route. And I was there for several years when one of the hairdressers left the business and opened up his own booth rental. The booth rental kind of throws you into kind of like being your own owner. However, you just rent space from the salon. When you do that, you're an accountant, you are a supplier, you have to order and get your supplies, and you have to schedule appointments. And so it's like you own your own business, however, you're just renting, like renting an apartment. You don't own it, but you're renting to be able to work there. And I worked there several years, and then I went to one other salon before my friend and I decided to open our own. And the main reason we did that is we didn't like the atmosphere in some of the salons, and we thought we'd just like to be a nail salon. And so at that time, she and I opened this. We found the office space, and we opened the business in less than 2 weeks. From concept to clients, it was about 2 weeks, and we have now been working here over 20 years, and we're very happy here. She works part-time, I work part-time. We don't have any issues, that come up. The two of us, whatever I don't handle, she does. Whatever she doesn't handle, I do, and we just worked out beautifully. At the time, we had to go through Cary, North Carolina, and we had to have an operating license, which they have now gotten rid of. And from there, we have to go to the North Carolina Board of Cosmetology and get their regulations for opening up a business. So they have a long list of rules and regulations of what you have to have. We have to have, one of the things is a material data list, and that tells every chemical in the salon what it is and how you have to have safety precautions in case you have a spill. You also have to have certain things like an eye wash station. If you were to get the chemicals in someone's eye, you have to have so many square feet per individual. You have to have a first aid kit. But anyway, they give you a whole list of what you have to do and how big the salon is, an entryway, ventilation. There's a license, so you have to get a license with the State Board of Cosmetology, and then you schedule an appointment and they come out and they inspect everything. And once they do that, you're allowed to open your business. You can go online to the State Board of Cosmetology, and all their rules and regulations are online. So if you're interested in opening a business or just becoming either a cosmetologist, manicurist, or anesthetician, that's a hard word to say sometimes, it gives you all the rules and requirements that you need. If you're opening your own business, you have to have startup funds to buy desks, furniture for your clients, products, supplies, advertisement, phone, insurance, not only on your contents, but health insurance in case you unfortunately injure someone. So there's a whole lot of things that you have to know that State Board doesn't even supply you with. So you need to speak to someone who owns a business to really give you the ins and outs of all the little tiny things that you need. To make sure your salon is clean, the State Board comes by once a year unannounced. They just walk in and say, we're here to make sure you are following all rules and regulations of sanitization and procedures. And they're very pleasant, and they tell you what you do wrong, and if you're doing everything right, they might cite you for dust, which in a nail salon you're going to have dust. I can't quite decide how they determine too much dust is too much dust, but I'm sure they have some rules. So, so we are regulated, and they do come in about once a year and check and make sure we're doing a good job. And then if someone were to have a complaint, they can call the State Board of Cosmetology, and it would mean you would have a sooner inspection to make sure whatever the complaint was either valid or possibly invalid. Our client base is really almost like a personality test. You have so many different personalities, and you have to be open to each personality, and you have to allow them to be that person without interjecting your own thoughts on them to maintain a client list. So it's tricky sometimes, especially if they don't believe the things you believe, but you still have to be professional and courteous and responsible, and make them feel welcome, and just do the best you can. Sometimes it can be difficult. Not all clients are enjoyable.
She's been my friend for probably 30 years.
Oh, it's got
Yeah,
almost 32.
Okay, 30. So her client base takes a long time maybe to get a client base, but they'll follow you and they're loyal and you take care of them. And it's just, I followed her around. Of course, I love her. But she just gives you the hour and it takes care and pampers you while you're here with her.
You got to make them feel like family. You've got to listen to them and respond appropriately and interact with them. Sometimes even if it's not exactly what you believe, but you let them know that they're heard and their feelings are valid and true and genuine. So a lot of times you kind of are their psychiatrist or counselor. You're just a safe environment for them to express how they feel, and then they go home being a little better because they kind of released some tension or feeling. So there's a little bit of counseling, or just, you know, a safe place for them to express emotions that they may not have a safe place elsewise. And they always tease me and say, wow, this sure is a cheap counseling session. I enjoy being able to set my own hours. I enjoy being able to, I guess, open my doors to a whole bunch of different personalities, and not only am I providing a service, but I also get to hear about all the different jobs that my clients do, which kind of makes me a go-to. Like somebody will go, oh, I need a seamstress, and I'll go, well, you know, so I have a lot of information, and I know a lot of people in other businesses, so it's kind of like we help each other by passing on good quality entrepreneurs who own their own business, so we kind of help each other build their own business. But it's just a unique thing to be able to do, and you just wear so many hats, it never gets boring. Like I said, I schedule, I go shopping and get supplies, I clean the salon. So I just feel like I really give back to the community. It's a safe place for these women to go and get taken care of and feel truly valued and loved. And I think in this world that a lot of women need to feel like that. Well, if you're new, you of course want to be, you don't have the years of training that I have. So when you're new, you usually start off in a business where you are an employee, a hair salon or a nail salon, and that allows you first-hand information to see who owns the business, what they have to do in owning a business. They take all the risk, but that's the best place to start. So you would start off probably a little bit higher than minimum wage, depending on the location and the city that you're in. And then as your skill level improves, you constantly would get raises. But you can level out to a point that might be when you decide you want to open your own salon. Because in a industry like this, the most you would ever get working for someone is probably 50 to 65% of the actual cost of the service. But on the other hand, when you open your own business, you still have to hold that 40 to 50% back, because that's your operating expenses. And some people find that's very hard to do because they see all this money they have and don't realize, well, that's electricity, that's rent, that's advertising, that's supplies. So for someone who's not real oriented with running a business, they might have a hard time wearing all the hats that I do. And so that would, to me, base on whether you're an employee of a salon or whether you can go out and have your own business. There's so much value in being an employee first before being an entrepreneur, and I cannot and would not change the way I started. If you are a business owner, that of course is where you're going to make your most money, because you can hire people under you and then you get a percentage of their income, and that's really where you make the most money. So if you're an employee, you can make a good living, but if you're a business owner, it would definitely make a more impact and a larger financial impact for you. You own your own business. For me, I usually come in early in the morning. I usually get here, if I start at 8, I usually get here about 7:30, 7:45, just to make sure the salon is clean and make sure all the supplies, the bathroom is clean, toilet paper, paper towels are stocked, make sure I have all my files, all my implements and things are clean, check my schedule. Hours depend on your clients. When your clients' hours are set, then you kind of have to come in and be here for them. So I usually get here about 7:45, start at 8, and then I can work all the way up until 7:15 at night, clean up, get out of here about 7:30 and go home. So my hours depend on the needs of my clients. It's flexibility in setting your own schedule. So it's a very individual setting as to the hours that you would work. But for me, I like working 2 long days, so then I have more time off. As with most things, you have continuing education, and every year I am required by law to put in 8 hours of continuing education. The state of North Carolina deems what is appropriate, so they can send you to different websites to tell you who is accredited through them for your continuing education. And a lot of things don't necessarily change in the manicuring system, but it's just over time you just get so comfortable with things that you may not have it in the upfront of your mind. So it's more of a refresher, just to make sure your sanitary precautions are the same. Make sure that, there's some diseases that come along with manicuring, and so that helps you to identify issues and alert clients that, hey, maybe you need to have this looked at. But yes, I have continuing education that is 8 hours every year, and every year we have a salon license that has to be renewed. And every year we have our personal licenses, which have to be renewed. It's not that it's very expensive or time consuming, but it is a yearly thing. It's not like your driver's license, you get 7 years or 6 years or whatever. This is something you do on a yearly basis. I do manicures, pedicures, and acrylic nails. I think it helps a lot if you're artistic, because the old form of acrylic nail was called sculpture, because I look at their nail bed and I sculpture the acrylic on top of their nail bed. So being artsy helps, and being a people person helps, and being a good listener is really key. Also, when you remember the things about clients, some of them say, can you just come home with me because you remember what I did yesterday better than I do. So just a good memory and just being kind. Unless you're in a really high traffic salon, it can take 6 to 8 months before you really can earn enough to make a living. And that's real important, is a lot of times you do not start in this industry making a ton of money right off. And just be consistent and practice on everybody you know so you can get better, because practice makes it perfect.
Due to COVID.
EJ?
Supplies that are accessible for pedicures. And then there's more supplies. Polish, nails.
Hot
But-
dog.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's today's schedule. This is her week for this week. She now has gotten to initials. We don't do full names anymore. But you can see where she was talking about 10 o'clock, working till 5, someone coming in at 5:30. Some of these people do pedicures, some do manicures, some do full sets. And then she has her week off. These women have had standing appointments for years.